What's up guys and welcome to the Finance Calendar. For the next 24 days there will be a new financial ratio explained every day. In the first door we are going to dive into EPS, so grab a drink and let's get started. Basic earnings per share, also known as EPS, means the company's profit for one stock. It is calculated simply by dividing the company's profits by the outstanding shares. For example, Apple's 2020 net income was $57.4 billion and it had 17.3 billion shares outstanding, so the EPS is 3.28. You can find all this information from different financial websites or simply by googling Company X income statement. The companies that are publicly traded usually have all the information on their website. If a company is paying dividends to preferred stocks, the formula is a little different. What this basically means is that some companies have preference shares, meaning shares that get paid dividends before the common shares. These preferred stocks are becoming very rare these days and you don't have to deal with them in most cases. So in most companies you don't have to think about this at all, but if you do, simply just subtract the preferred dividends from the net income and divide that by the number of common shares outstanding. The number of shares outstanding can change during the year, so for more accurate results you might want to use the weighted average. To do this, you can simply add the number of common shares at the beginning of the reporting time with the number of common shares at the end of the reporting time and divide that number by 2. As you can see from Apple's income statement, there are two kinds of EPS, basic and diluted. The one that we calculated previously is the basic EPS. Diluted EPS is calculated a little differently and is usually a little bit lower than the basic EPS. This is because the diluted EPS takes convertible preferred shares, convertible debentures, stock options and warrants into account. I won't go much into detail about these, but basically a company can issue something like a long-term debt that can be converted into company shares after a specific time. To calculate diluted EPS, the formula is a little more complicated than for the basic EPS. Again, you want to subtract the preferred dividends from the net income. Now you divide this number by the weighted average shares outstanding and add all the different convertible securities. As with preferred dividends, the diluted EPS doesn't affect all the companies. For example, Apple's diluted EPS is exactly the same as the basic EPS. But for some companies it does matter. For example, Amazon's basic EPS is 42.66 while the diluted EPS is only 41.83. Let's now take a look at some examples. You don't really have to calculate any of this by yourselves, since you can always just take a look at the company's reports or use different finance websites, but it's good to understand where the numbers come from. So here is company A. Its 2020 net income was $100 million and the number of shares is also 100 million. This means that the basic EPS is $1. Company B also has a net income of $100 million, but it pays $10 million dividends to preferred stocks. This company also has 100 million shares outstanding. The basic EPS is $0.9. Company C has a net income of $100 million, pays $10 million in dividends to preferred stocks, has 100 million shares outstanding, and also has 10 million convertible securities. The diluted EPS is $0.82. So those are some examples of how to calculate EPS, but what can you use EPS for? It of course immediately shows whether or not the company is profitable. If the EPS is a negative number, the company is losing money, and if it is a positive number, the company is making money. You can also use EPS to compare different companies. If two companies are making $1 million a year, but the other company has 100,000 shares, while the other one has million shares, the other company is making a lot more money for the stock owners. The most useful thing to use EPS for is probably the PE ratio, but let's talk more about that in some other door of the calendar. So hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out any of the future ratios, and have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow with the door number 2. Bye.